Hello everyone, this is Naomi Dunmother of EQ2 Traders Corner. I am going to give you a tour of all of the 4 elemental planes for the Chaos Descending expansion. I'm doing this because it's often a royal pain to be running around trying to find quest targets at the same time you're actually doing the quest and seeing the zones for the first time. So we're going to give you a little bit of a tour here so you can get the lay of the land and the zones, and you can see where some of the harvesting spots are, where some of the quest targets are, and so forth, and get a good visual feel for where you are. We're starting with Doomfire, the Earth and Badlands, which has lots of lava. Lava bad. Don't go in the lava, okay? Other than that, though, I've just zoned in from that big red ball of flame there. This is what people are calling the graveyard, the charred cemetery. As you can see, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of spinning a little fast here, there are harvest nodes here. It looks like the key chest is also up, and so forth. You'll find shinies here. This central graveyard area is the middle of the map. There are 3 different paths you can take from here. As a crafter, you will only be using one of those areas directly, but you will probably want to be harvesting in the other 2 as well, especially if it's crowded. So I will show you the entire area, at least a quick flyby. You can see on the map, there's that nice little ball of flame with a blue circle around it. That is a public quest. And you can walk right past that epic mob if you're not fighting, and you will be fine. He will not bother you. He is not aggro, which helps a lot when you have to harvest. Alright, so when you zone into Doomfire, you have a woodworking table and a chemistry table. You will use both during the crafting line in this zone. Then when you are doing the crafting line, most of what you're going to be sent to is over near the nasty cinder wasps. The cinder wasps are only bad if, of course, you get into their aggro range. You can harvest around them, you can work around them, you can fly away from them, and so forth. But one thing you do want to know about all these cinder wasp nests is often they hide wood in the top. As you can see, someone's going to go grab that batch there. But this is a prime wood harvesting spot. You will want to know how to get into those central areas. Just be very careful to dive, go high up and dive down, and you should be able to get all your wood. So I'm going back to that main central area and that path. We're going to ignore Dr. Arcana, who is giving out the key missions. Yes, I can talk tonight, really. As you can see, there's some stone harvests, some dens, more aggro mobs up there. You just want to be very careful. You will end up meeting this guy more than once and doing work for him, Zuvet. So you want to know where he is on the map. So see where my little arrow is and see where that dark central island is, and you can get a good idea for where you will need to be. You will come back to him several times. You will go wandering off in search of nodes. Depending on how many people are around, you may or may not have some good luck right in here. Just remember, lava bad, but you can cling by your fingernails and do some harvesting if need be very close to the lava. There is the public quest mob. As you can see, there's ore. Yes, I know it looks like a gem node, but it's an ore node. There's your lairs. You will find wood around on the ground and so forth. The reefs are your gem nodes. Sometimes there will be some up above here where there isn't any aggro. Sometimes it's already been picked clean. On the sides, down where the lava is, just don't drop all the way down. It's a good place to find your reefs and dens, some stones, some of the gardens. You will also have a quest where you are going to have to find a fireproof bag. And it is going to be inside one of those wasp nests, and you are going to have to dodge mobs really carefully. If you get absolutely, utterly frustrated, where I am standing now, that little thing on the bottom southwest corner of the map, is for 120 plat, a spare bag, if you don't want to play dodge the wasps. Most people would rather spend the time than the money, but I know some of you are out there who have the money and would rather spend it. So that's where he is. There won't be much harvesting up here. There is a big bad named, so you really don't want to wander into that area if you're a squishy crafter. But instead you will want to circle around and do your harvesting on the sides here. As you can see, I'm zooming past quite a few nodes because there aren't many people in beta at this time of night, which is one of the reasons why I did it. More dens. So there is actually quite a bit of harvesting here that is aggro-free. I purposely picked somebody that I could feign death with if need be to shake off any aggro, because I am talking and flying at the same time, and well, I'm not known to be the most coordinated person in the world. So this way, if I do get any aggro while I'm talking to you folks, it'll be easy enough to shake it off. Okay, I'm going back to that path, back through the graveyard area, and I'm going to take a different branching. Wave to him again. Boom! Okay, Discovery XP. There is aggro in this area. There are flying Jin, Jan, whatever you want to call them. There are aggro basilisks, but there will be some fishing in the lava. There will be lairs, and if you're careful and you fly around the edges, you can always find where somebody's cleared things and then dive down, such as this lair here. It's all about being careful. If you've hit level 110 crafter, hopefully you've already learned how to play dodge the mob. Sometimes there's some good dens over here, but again, there's lots of mobs there, so just be aware. It's a good harvesting area, but it's more for combat harvesting. As you're heading over this way, which is going west up in the northern area, you will find that you are dealing with flying elementals. So remember to look not just on the ground, but up in the air. Now, I'm ignoring the elementals because I want you to see this guy. Isn't he beautiful? That's the fire version of the snails. I absolutely love the model. So they're here, they're not aggro, but again, you've just got to watch because those flame lords are floating around the edges. So you can dive in, you can grab some shrubs, you can grab some reefs and so forth, some roots. Just be really careful because those flame lords are there. From there, I'm going up here, more dens leading up to a named up there. This is all aggro giant type mobs, so you want to be careful there. Now we come back down to another non-aggro area, which is all frogs and lots of dens. There's roots, there's wood, there's lots of the coalesced reef. There is normally a named on this platform, so be careful around that. He will be aggro. The rest of the frogs are not aggro. More giants guarding your dens and your wood. They get annoying, but they are what they are. Now we're going back to the central area. I probably should have evac'd, but I didn't bring enough evac totems with me. So I'm just going to do this the normal way. As long as you keep in mind that that central area is a three-way hub, you shouldn't get too lost in this zone. So now I'm going to the southeastern hub. Aggro ponies, aggro imps. Lots of harvesting. So again, you're gonna, and then the fiery spirits are also aggro. So you're gonna wanna really watch yourself and learn what aggro distance those Jopal have. They are a lore and legend mob, by the way. That's a new lore and legend this time around. But there is quite a bit there as long as you're careful and you just kind of dive in and zip back out again. As long as you can get airborne, you can pretty much outrun anything here. If they make you fall, though, well, lava's deadly. So if you just get some quick occasional aggro, you can outrun it as long as you know where you're going. So danger ponies and all of that. A flaming bridge, just for those of us that get vertigo and don't like looking down on something. And there, I just got aggro. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to keep on flying. More giants. I'm getting all the discovery XP as I go and hoping that he just breaks off. There, he broke off. Aggro lava spiders, more giants, more nodes. There's those cinder wasp nests we were at before. I really dislike those wasps, but that's partially because I've done that trade skill line so many times by now, and I've had to dodge them or kill them so much. So that's Doomfire in a quick nutshell for crafters. Now we're going back to Mirist, and we will go to Vegarlson, the Earthen Badlands. There will be water, there will be fishing, but be aware, the water is tainted in both earth and in disease. So if you go into the water, you will start taking damage. Water bad. Just like lava bad, water bad. Sometimes you will find some nice little ore along these rocks and all other rocks like it. Sometimes you will find the reef clusters here, which are the stones. Often there's fishing, and as long as you just do something like this, you can fish from a distance. You go in and boom, there you go. 2 million damage the first time I went in. I didn't stay in, but you get the idea. This area's been picked pretty clean, but often underneath trees like this, there will be wood to harvest. It's very much a, this area tends to have this area tends to have that, and so forth. Whoops. I've got wild cats behind me playing tag. They're distracting me. But meanwhile, yes, there is a workbench here, but often you'll find that it's easier to just bring summoned stations with you and so forth. Aggro basilisks all over the place. Non-aggro earthen emissaries. There's some more ore. Again, fly for height and you're usually pretty good here. There's often some reef clusters in here as well as fish in this specific area, and then there's usually some wood up here. But somebody's in here harvesting up a storm, so I'm not going to be able to show you many nodes. Those basilisks really are feisty. They have had their aggro range decreased some, so you should be better off now, but yeah, you can outrun them. Then there's the gemmed protectors, which is another elemental type. And yes, they are aggro. Where this person is standing here is where you will be doing some crafting quest. Temri starts out back at the Earth portal, but then he ends up here, and you will have to report back to him here a couple times. So it's good to know this spot. You can see where I am on the map. I'm on the far east, the southern end of that eastern part. You will be cataloging a lot of these for the trade skill line as well, with a special catalog ability. Not the normal catalog ability, but one that has a slightly longer range. I'm flying low here because there are, I'm going to call them methin. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, although maybe I will. Vekerchiki. They're all over the place here in this specific area. So if you are flying high, you're going to have to fly really high in order to dive away from them or rise away from them. Sometimes they won't be in there, somebody will have taken them down and you can fly through there, but just be aware. There's lots of green wings around and they're grumpy. The little wisp dots there are not aggro. So if all else fails and you need to AFK, pop to the top of a tree and you can just kind of park yourself there like so and you're safe. But down along these edges will be more of the reef clusters. Sometimes you'll find some dens and so forth. You will be doing stuff in this area, grabbing some pollen and stuff. The pollen plants, I can't show them to you now. I have to be on the quest, but they'll usually be under these trees. Under those trees is also a good spot for wood. But there's all these aggro warders too. They have a rather short aggro range, as you can see. And there he goes. So it's not too bad. You can harvest in here and zip around and hide behind trees and all that fun stuff. It's really not that bad. This is one of the easier places to harvest, which also means that it's one of the ones to be cleared the quickest. Of nodes. Because everybody finds this one so easy to harvest in. And then the coalesced reef is again the stone nodes. So there's lots of those around. Down here is more disco XP plus aggro frogs. And somewhere in here, if somebody hasn't taken him down, is an aggro named frog. There's some good harvesting around the edges, but lots of froggies. It's a good spot for dens, in fact. Now we're going back up here. Let me show you where you were on the map. You're on the bottom southeast corner there. And now we're headed towards the temple area, but we're not going there directly yet. I'm going to wave to yet another batch of planar earthen elementals. There's some good harvesting up in this area, as long as you're careful to dodge away from them. And then you will be going up here. On top of each of these spots is an earth elemental that you will have to catalog for the trade skill line. So it's good to learn where they are and how to dodge away from them. These guys, the Arborians, who are all grumpy, and they usually have a familiar attached to them, they are also part of your catalog quest targets. Then you have the equivalent of Vultax, so they're the Terek Temple Guardians. And I want to say it's either the Guardian or the Protector you will need to find to catalog. I don't remember right now, but I will be doing a walkthrough for the trade skill line as well, but that's where you will find them. And as you can see, I can just kind of bop around and eyeball nodes, grab some nodes, grab the lovely green shinies. In this zone they are green, and fire they were red. There's often a named in this area, and there's a public quest that goes through in here. So you won't want to fly too low, too close to a mob. Around the outside here, especially on this northern side of this island to the east, there's a lot of mud elementals floating around. They're easy to miss the first time if you're just zipping through. So be aware they are there. They are aggro. Do not get squished by them. But again, as you can see, there are nodes over here. So as long as you're careful, you can do it. Now I'm going to go somewhere where you won't need to go for the crafting line at all, but I want to show it to you. There's some aggro methods up above, and then all these lovely snails, and harvest nodes too, but more than one different earth-colored snail model. So you get the curly, the rounded shells, the swirly shells. There's usually a named right here. Then there's the swirly shells with some blue on them. More snails, more methods. Then there's the temple. You will not need to be in the temple at all for the crafting line. You will, of course, for the adventuring line. You will find some harvesting around this area, but again, you're going to be dealing with aggro. There are more of the Arborians, but in linked heroic groups now. Aggro Muddites, it'll be the same inside. We're not actually going to bother going in. I'm just going to evac and call this zone done. I should have prepped this sooner, but here we go. At least it's relatively quick. Swoop. And yes, I really am a monk weaponsmith, dual-wielding swords in my appearance. Just because I've got to be different. And back we go to Mirist, and then I will show you wind, and then I will show you disease. And this was not in the Mirist tour video because it was changed afterwards. This platform with the portals has been changed. They added pretty see-through glass and all sorts of effects and so forth that weren't there before. This has just been in the last couple days. So we're going to Erislai, the Kingdom of Wind, and this is where you really can get lost. So this is the reason why I especially wanted to do this for landmarks. You will find players with that model only in Wind, because it's part of the quest, but then you will also find that there are aggro Nilborians all over the place. It's not a fun thing to deal with. This is where you zone in. This is your map, just so you can see. It's kind of in chunks, and that kind of looks nasty on first glance. But once you learn where the portals are, it's not bad. So while there is harvesting in here, you will especially find a lot of wood and some shrubs and so forth. Then over near the water, the rocks will have the reef clusters and the ore and so forth. But what I'm doing is swinging wide around it, no matter how pretty it is and how much I want to ogle it. I'm just swinging around the edge so that I can show you exactly where you need to be for the crafting line. Pretty water flowing over the edge, and then you see this structure over here. And I will call up the map again so you can see exactly where this is. You need to know this spot. Know it. Love it. Embrace it. Get used to flying from the zone in to here. Because your first step, you will put an offering to Zegany there. Then you will fly back to zone in, talk to a book, and then you will have to go to the Eyrie, which is that area over there in that tree in the far distance. But this is faster. Hit travel, and you are in the Windglades. Oh, not the Windglades. You are in the... I can talk, really. This is Crosswind Isle. Crosswind Isle has the Windglades, which is where you started. It has the Bixel Hive, which we will go to in a bit. It has the Precipice of Wind, which you will not need to question as a crafter, and it has the Eyrie. And of course I forgot to show you when we were back at that portal, so I will show you it on the map afterwards, but you see where you are in the center. This is the central hub that can get you to all the other places without long flying, and then bop you back again. So first off, we're going to the Eyrie, because that is the first place that you will have to travel once you have started that part of the crafting line. And your first target out here will be to feed this hungry fellow. So you will pop over to here. It will give you a recipe for seed. You will then come over to this nice little stove and cook it for him and then drop it back. But you see how I'm dropping down? I'm not really going straight. I'm going up and then down. That is because there is an aggro that sometimes paths through this area. And you really don't want to deal with them unless you are an adventurer. So be aware that you may have to go up and over to get to him. That is the only spot for that part of the quest where you need to be here. You will have to come back here a second time. So I'm going back over to here so you can see it as if you were coming directly from the portal. At the very end of the trade skill line, before you go back for your final reward, you're going to have to find a specific nest here. It's hidden-ish. So you're at the portal, wave to the hungry one, aim for that branch with that nest there, then dive. You're going underneath. This can be hard to figure out with waypoint wisps just because of the 3 dimensions, but this is where you will be going, is here. I will include the location in the walkthrough. It's also got a markable spot. So there we go. I've decided that I'm marking it. And you can see on the map where I am, but it's really hard to find because it's underneath the main area. So a lot of people get confused and lost. And of course, I am going to get confused. You can see off to the left ahead there, that's the main portal area that I was talking about, Crosswind Isle. So if you ever get lost, you can fly there directly, but I'm trying to retrace my steps to the portal. And I may have done it. There we go. Yes, I did. I'm being stingy on my evacs. The other part that you will need to go to is the Bixel Hive. When you arrive here for the Be in Need quest, you'll travel to about here, and then you will get a quest pop up to give you the next step and gives you the recipe. You will need to cook. You can either warp to a stove and keg, bring your own, or you go back to there, you travel through, then you go to the Airy, then you go to that stove that's next to Ajax the Hungry. It's a pain in the rear. So it's easier to just bring a stove or to use the house rating system. But it is a possibility to go back there to cook. Bixels are aggro, but you can dive in relatively close and not get hit. Especially when you see a wind shiny like that. Haha, mine, yoink. And as you can see, they're ignoring me. I'll get relatively close. Pretty soon they'll be aggro. They are linked a lot of times. But I can get pretty close before they get mad at me. So you can learn the aggro ranges. Flop back down. Some really neat art in here. You're going to want a rubberneck, but just be aware there's lots of aggro. I would have loved to have some of that honeycomb. We didn't get that. We didn't get these little hanging lights. But we did at least get some of the shelves and the forge and honey pot and so forth. So there's some nice stuff in there. It is multiple layers. There's a lot of gem nodes in here. There's some root nodes. There's some gardens, nurseries. A lot of times the dens will be in these cutouts. So they'll be in the comb areas. So when you're tracking a den on Track Harvestables, you're going to want to check multiple levels to see where it is. It could be above you, it could be below you. The wisps have a hard time in here. And I just got aggro again. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore that shiny. I'm just going to fly for a little bit, then land and shake it off. Way up top center, if you're playing tourist, is the area for the Bixel Queen. So that's where the Queen's Guard will be and so forth. Lots of like nice honey puddles and so forth. There you go. That's what the Bixel Hive looks like. And there's some of those dens I was talking about. As you can see, this is where the layers end up, are all in these cutouts. Now, to remember where the entrance was, dive, dive. All right, should be down over here, I think, maybe. Navigation 101, don't follow Mom. I get lost easily. I should have brought more evac stuff with me, but okay, it's over here. So this is back near the entrance, and I can slip right between these guys. Go back through Crosswind Isle. Then I want to go back towards Zone In. So I take the Wind Glades, and I promised you I would show you this spot on the map. Your Wind Glades spot is right at the bottom of all that green on your map. At least if you have the default map. Once you get into EQ2 maps, who knows what they'll do with colors. So that's where it is to get to all the rest of the areas. And again, you swing around the outside and curve around if you don't want to deal with aggro. Otherwise, you know, there's aggro elementals and so forth. There's passive torrents. All sorts of just beautiful, beautiful art, as you can see. The Nilborians. And unfortunately, when you do the Nilborian illusion, it does not make them non-aggro. They will always be aggro on you. And then here's the zone out. And again, the Dr. Arcana, who is in every single overland zone, all 4 of them. And he gives out key quests. And the key quests are not timed quests. They are adventuring kill missions. Just killed it. 5 of this, 5 of this, 5 of this, 5 of this. Boom, you get a key. All right, now I'm going across the library because Detroxylus the Plague Lance is not with all the 3 elemental ones. It's on the opposite end of the zone. And we will get a look at the new centerpiece for the library. This was brand new a couple days ago, so it was also not in my merest walkthrough. It's actually quite lovely. And going past the portal that gets you from Merest 1 to Merest 2, if there is such a thing. Going down to the South Wing. South Wing stacks, bada boom, bada bing. Prophecy Portal Gallery. That ugly purple thing, and green. Now, if you are also an adventurer and you have done the Plains of Prophecy stuff, you will recognize this zone, sort of. It's like taking the 2 disease instances and tacked them together into one giant map, plus a few extra things, and different mobs. But for those who haven't, this is where you zone in, that ugly thing there. It is on the far west on the map. Behind the zone in is a workbench. You need to know where that is. When you are sent here on the trade skill line, you'll be coming out from that entrance and hanging a left and going down here to this little tent and all these sick people. And then you will be going back up to use that workbench and then coming back here, and then they will give you a recipe for some foodstuffs. Stinky, stinky, stinky stuff. And that's a fire pit stove. So that little item there you will also be using. And you will be cooking up something with provided materials. You'll have to bring your fuel. There's all sorts of harvesting nodes along the sides. Again, water bad. Don't go into the water unless you want to take damage. But do go along the edges and watch for things like the stones and the roots and so forth. Be aware there are aggro bats all over the place. So you will want to fly carefully around that area. But there's a lot of harvesting in here. I'm going to show you the one spot that you need for the trade skill line, so everybody can either drop out then if they don't want to watch the rest, or they can come on a tour for the rest of the zone. Aggro danger ponies. Yes, they're Festresses, but I like danger ponies better. Then you've got your Babonians. And you're going to be delivering some stinky cheese over here. This guy, he's non-aggro. He's the one you're going to have to find. He should have a quest book over his head during the quest, so you will be able to find him. But just in case, that's where he is. He's in the very north part of the zone. Just kind of sitting there, spreading disease and decay. He's ugly. You'll have flesh clots and all sorts of stuff along the way. Lots of aggro here, but it's avoidable. You can dive in and do a lot of harvesting as long as you're careful. Just stay out of the water. They're a sickly yellow-green for the shinies. There's all sorts of pusslings down in this pathway here. But there's also dens and so on. And aggro. Yes, I got aggro. Da 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 da. And I still have two cats playing heavy tag behind me. They are very distracting. Shake off the aggro. This area has dens. It also has spiders that you won't always notice right away, but they are all over the place, so be careful. There's also the nurseries and so forth. There's aggro rock crawlers. Yes, I'm hearing hissing now. Okay, they're playing rough. There are aggro rats. There is harvesting in here. You're just going to have to be careful with it. Then where you see this deserted chest here is where there will be an aggro named rat. All sorts of harvesting, but you're just going to really want to watch what you're doing. Watch the aggro ranges. And excuse me, I'm going to pause for a moment. There, I just proved to the cats that my hiss is bigger than their hiss, and they both ran off. Hopefully that'll stop them for a few minutes. This area in here does have good harvesting and shinies, but there's usually also lots and lots of pox swarms. Some of them are pretty easy to kill if you're high level. You can even do a one-hit wonder thing, but you're really going to have to watch because they're not that easy to notice unless you know what you're looking for. They're just this nice little cloud. So be aware that they're there. And you've got your Malarians. And even way down here on all these broken islands, there's good harvesting, but there's aggro. Over here you'll find some Malarian larvae. I don't remember if there's any nodes up here. Yes, there are a few. There's also shinies. But somebody's been through here and cleared a lot. So there's not as many mobs as usual, nor are there as many nodes. So be aware of that. The Scavian swarms are easier to see. They're nastier green. It just shows up a lot better than those other swarms do. There's often a lot more of the Malarians flying around and an aggro named right about here. As you can see, there's also fish in the water to fish, but you're going to want to stand over on a rock or something, because if you go in after them, boom, a couple million in damage. Not fun. I'll show you where I am on the map. I'm taking the outer way back to the entrance right now instead of going over the mountains. I didn't show you a couple of the side paths and so forth, but this should give you a good feel for the fact that you can go through and do some decent harvesting, just as long as you're careful. And then watch for the bats. Duck in between them, and there you are, back at the entrance. I hope this helps some of you get a little bit of a feel for what the 4 overland zones are going to be like, so it makes it easier for you to harvest and quest there. Thanks a lot. I'll be doing the quest walkthrough videos in the next day or so. This is Niami Denmother of EQ2.EQtraders.com signing off.